This is Cupcake Avara. I am actually out of my office right now. I am helping my mother out. She works at a college, back to school, putting up billboards, if you didn't notice from the previous footage. And I thought about something while I was putting up the billboards, but before that, assuming you saw my video yesterday, and if you haven't, I'll put a link up in the description, or a link in the title card here, about my relationship with color and technology, and I am super stoked that they are taking more chances. Samsung just announced the Note 9, oh gosh, I'm going back in time, Note 9, and they're going to have two colors. One is ocean blue and one is lavender purple. It's not a rich purple, but I'll take it. Some other places are getting like a copper color, and I'm not sure what other colors they haven't quite said yet, but I'm really excited. Also, storage is going to be insane. 128 gigabytes and a 512 version. Gigabytes, which means you can easily get a terabyte of storage on your phone. And I, for one, am a fan of the S Pen. My present phone, the one I'm recording on right now, is not a Samsung, but my last 3 were. So I would, super excited about that. If you want to know more about that phone, there's several tech tubers, Your Average Consumer, Austin. I will link it in the description. However, they look beautiful. I am super excited, and I really want one. But back to the subject at hand. What did this remind me of? And you're gonna see how weird my brain works. So for those of you who don't know, who've never been in a school setting, maybe have never seen this, this is etching we use on billboards. And it reminded me of horror games. I know, right? How? Well, when you have horror games, it actually should operate kind of like a wave as far as the storytelling goes. Meaning, when you first start the game or you first start the movie, you kind of go in with either what you think you know are facts and information, and then as the game or movie in some cases goes on, you realize how little you actually know and understand. That's one of the reasons why I think, take for instance, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just one that you can easily look up on YouTube anywhere. Let's look at the very first one. He's not necessarily, the jump scares are not that bad. It is the tension leading up to the jump scares. It is that ride, it's like the roller coaster ride when you're going up that first curve right before you plummet down. In his case, you don't ever know because it's kind of up to you for the most part when that down part comes. Being able to maintain that tension is actually not as easy as you would think. And it's usually a combination of music and setting and story, and in his case, it's kind of funny because as much as people complain in the very first night about his voice and how boring it sounds and how they're tired of hearing him, whether or not Scott knew this, the creator of the game, the monotonous sound of the voice who was telling the player what to do, and oftentimes you would eventually tune him out. And you would actually maybe not even know what's going on in the game because you got tired of actually paying attention and listening to him. Hello? Like I said, I don't know if he intentionally did it, but it was an unintentional side effect, and that's really cool. Now, this wave pattern doesn't always look like this. It's never going to be always up, down, up, down, up, down. Like with FNAF, you only have however long you manage to survive is however long that curve lasts. And that's important. Games can, movies can divvy up that curve. The important thing is that the top of that curve can't stay too high, because eventually your player, your viewer, gets tired and you can't maintain that even in the wild. So our brain, we consciously know that we're not in the situation. Subconsciously, however, we don't subconsciously understand that we're not in that situation. So that jump, that jolt of adrenaline is real. You can tire your viewer out, your player out, if it goes on for too long. And that's one of the reasons why a good horror game has a lot of slow points. They gotta lull you into a false insecurity. Look at how Scott's game has evolved. If you look at, maybe not Ultimate Custom Night, but if you look at Sister Location, which is a great example, that wave stays pretty consistent. He then switches it up on you. You guys who've watched the game know what I'm talking about. And the whole time, he has someone else narrating randomly, other people talking randomly, and there are long periods where nothing ever happens. It is purely about atmosphere, the threat of something happening. That moment, that the creep factor, the tension comes in when the normal tips over dramatically into the abnormal. You know, paranormal, that's why they're so scary. Everything is a normal household with normal people in it, and then something happens that you can't quite explain. You go in, and this lack of understanding, this mystery that rides that wave, is part of the reason why some series that start out as horror series become less scary as you go on. It's been mentioned before that anytime you start telling people how it's done, it starts to become less and less of a threat. Resident Evil. The first few games were extremely creepy, but as soon as things started to be explained to you in detail, which, don't get me wrong, it's great storytelling, it's great development, and I want to know, people complained it wasn't as scary. Well, that's because you now know. That's because the story is now known, that you know how the T-virus has evolved. You know how the Ouroboros has expanded. You know this. Therefore, that sense of apprehension was gone. The new one has gone back to that by taking away you're not a fighter, you barely even punch, you're first person now. And that scare came back because we didn't know what strand this was. We didn't quite know. I mean, we kind of knew who we were and why we were there. Again, we went in with what we thought we knew as information, and things rapidly changed. I actually plan on doing a video about Resident Evil 7 regarding the color scheme that was used in it and how it was very specific. I will probably do that later when I'm actually able to do it in my home and have a little more control. But this is just quick. I wanted to get it out. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I will be back with another video next week. But thank you for listening, lords and ladies, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.